right to be scared.
You can run, you can hide, but you can't escape a tornado, especially if it's a once-in-a-generation tornado outbreak. Hello people, welcome back to our channel. Today's video is not for the faint-hearted, as we're going to be doing some major storm chasing across Oklahoma, just like Bill and Joe Harding did in the 1996 movie Twister, and just like Kate and Tyler do in the recently released sequel Twisters. The Jan de Bont directed 90s Twister is still regarded as the best natural disaster movie ever, with its spooky storm scores and spine-chilling destruction scenes, and of course Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt's iconic chemistry. A new batch of storm chasers has returned in Lee Isaac Chung's newest movie, and is all set to give you chills and nightmares, and we're here to explore if there's any connection between the two. So let's dive right into the eye of the storm. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Origin story, Chasing the Classics, a look at the 1996 Twister. Let's time travel back to June 1969, because that's when the Jan de Bont directed Twister begins. An eerie score plays out as the sky gets cloudy, lightning begins to strike, and Oklahoma gets engulfed in darkness, with tornado warnings airing on TV. As the strongest intensity tornado of an F5 scale strikes, a family of 3 run toward an underground shelter, and the dad tries to keep the door from breaking away. "I can't hold it any longer," he yells, and when the door indeed comes apart, the dad gets blown away in the tornado, as the little child screams in horror. 3 decades later, this little girl has grown up to become a tornado-obsessed meteorologist, Joe Harding, played by Helen Hunt, who leads a wacky but experienced team of storm chasers that are running out of grant money. National Severe Storms Laboratory forecast that a storm outbreak is brewing over Oklahoma, and it's something they've never seen before. It's going to be the biggest series of storms in 12 years. Joe's estranged husband, Bill, played by Bill Paxton, arrives in Oklahoma along with his fiancée, Melissa, to get the divorce papers signed by Joe. Just like Joe, Bill too was a fellow storm chaser, but he's changed careers to become a TV weatherman. As Bill asks for the signed documents, Joe shows him a completed device named Dorothy, which the two had conceptualized and Bill had designed before their divorce. Dorothy is a scientific tornado instrument that aims to radio back information from inside the tornado, so that scientists can know what's going on inside the funnel, like wind velocities and internal structure, and subsequently create an advanced and more effective warning system that goes off 15 minutes before a tornado hits. But in order to test it out for the first time, Joe has to place it right at the epicenter of a tornado, so that it releases hundreds of sensors to measure all parts of the tornado simultaneously. And what better chance to do that than now, when a storm is headed their way? Joe and her crew get a sudden update and start chasing a storm, when Bill unwillingly joins them to retrieve the divorce papers. Along the way, he also spots a rival storm chaser, Jonas Miller, who's backed by corporate funding and expensive gadgets. Unlike Joe's team, Bill loses his temper when he learns that Jonas has ripped off his Dorothy concept and replicated it as a tornado device .3, which he intends to launch into the storm first and take credits. In order to help Joe deploy Dorothy first, Bill, who's known as the human barometer for his Twister tracking instincts, joins the storm chasing party and starts studying the skies, the clouds, and the winds. As he chases after a developing tornado, with Jonas following the party, Bill and Joe start bickering about their marriage and Melissa, resulting in a rash decision of driving into a ditch. But they get too close to the tornado, and with no time to launch Dorothy, they seek shelter under a bridge as Joe's truck gets sucked into the storm and Dorothy destroyed. They set up Dorothy 2 on Bill's truck and keep chasing the F2 scale Twister. Tornadoes are measured by the Fujita scale, which calculate the intensity of a tornado by how much it destroys, and a tornado of an F2, F3 scale is a rather deadly one. Bill anticipates the storm is about to change course and steers away from Jonas's fleet onto a narrow road over a stream. In a heart-stopping scene, the tornado moves onto the stream and develops into 2 water spouts. As Bill slams on the brakes, they see a cow floating around in the tornado, right before they get hit by the water spouts. As it dissipates, Melissa is terrified while Bill and Joe celebrate about intercepting the water tornado. With some persistent convincing, the party land up at the house of Joe's Aunt Meg for some steak and eggs. Here, Melissa learns about the destructive power of storms, Bill's past exploits, and Joe's childhood trauma. Meanwhile, Aunt Meg gives a pep talk to Joe about how much Joe and Bill still love each other. Another F3 starts developing with a base that's half a mile wide, with Bill and Joe driving directly into its core. As they drive through the hailstorm and get close enough to the tornado, they're unable to unlatch Dorothy 2 from the truck. As the tornado blows up electric poles and causes explosions, the Dorothy tumbles over, and the storm disappears, only to rebuild into something stronger, forcing Bill and Joe to retreat. Joe breaks down at the failure, and her childhood trauma comes back when Bill says that he still loves her, with Melissa hearing their conversation over the radio. They halt at Fairview for the night, unaware that an F4 tornado is headed their way. When the TV signal glitches and the lightning strikes, Bill, Joe, and their team rush inside a sheltered garage at a drive-in theater for safety. When the storm passes, people are injured, cars are destroyed, electricity is gone, phone lines are dead, and the shelter is ripped apart. The storm builds up as it heads to destroy Wakita, and the team decides to go there to save Aunt Meg. Meanwhile, as Joe signs the divorce papers, Melissa decides to amicably part ways with Bill, telling him that, "You go ahead, Joe needs you." Reaching Wakita, Bill and Joe rush to rescue Aunt Meg from under the debris of her fallen house, and on her way to the hospital, she tells Joe that the siren in Wakita went off just a few seconds before the F4 hit the area, further motivating Joe to develop the advanced storm warning system. Meanwhile, the National Severe Storms Laboratory intercepts something unusual, something that the state hasn't seen in more than 30 years. Two storm systems have met and combined forces, turning into an F5 scale tornado, which is about to hit Oklahoma with winds in excess of 300 miles an hour. Suddenly, an idea strikes Joe. She sees Aunt Meg's wind vane sculptures and decides to add tiny aluminium wings to each of the sensors inside the last two remaining Dorothy devices for better aerodynamics. As the team gets to work, Joe and Bill keep driving toward the snarling, growling F5 tornado. On their way, they warn Jonas that the direction he's headed in will put him directly on the path of the F5, but Jonas ignores their warning and gets sucked into the storm funnel. Meanwhile, Bill and Joe get really close to the funnel, successfully set up Dorothy 3 and jump back into their car, but the tumultuous winds bring a tree crashing into Dorothy. As the storm keeps getting closer, Joe and Bill try to leave, but the tree gets stuck to their car, and an entire truck crash lands in a huge explosion in front of them, preventing them from speeding away. The tornado develops a mile-wide base, with Bill and Joe heading towards it again as a last chance to deploy Dorothy 4. Driving through a cornfield, they put the car in cruise mode and jump out of it just in time so that the car can keep going into the tornado. As soon as it nears the base of the storm, the Dorothy sensors go up into the whirlwind of the tornado and immediately start transmitting data. As the team celebrates, the F5 changes its course and starts moving toward Bill and Joe. They rush toward a nearby barn, manage to enter the pump house and firmly tie themselves to the pipes, hoping to survive the deadly twister. Bill says the pipes run at least 30 feet deep into the ground, and there's hope that the pipes won't get uprooted by the tornado. In doing so, they place themselves directly in the core of the storm and watch in wonder as the tornado passes over them. Once the storm dissipates, Bill and Joe can't stop talking about running a lab with all the data from Dorothy and developing the advanced storm warning system. As the team arrives and starts celebrating, Joe and Bill share a kiss with the sky clearing out in the backdrop. The storm chasing sequences in this movie are brilliant, with some head-banging music, energetic radio talk, and adrenaline-pumping car chases. And the tornadoes feel like real monsters with all the snarling and growling, destroying everything in their path. Years later, no film can make tornadoes look as good as this 1996 gem, except perhaps its recently released sequel. Decades later, Twisters are back. The sequel movie Twisters arrives 28 years after the original one. It opens on an upbeat note when young storm chaser Kate and her friends are hopeful about their new experiment of releasing barrels of superabsorbent polymers into a nearby developing tornado. With the experiment, Daisy Edgar Jones's character Kate hopes to decrease the moisture out of a tornado to see if it collapses. While chasing the storm, Kate's mom tells her to be safe and that there's a barbecue at the house for the entire crew. As Kate and her friends ride into the storm with the Dorothy 5 Doppler and the polymer barrels, they suspect it's an enhanced Fujita 1 or 2, unaware that the tornado is developing into an enhanced Fujita 5 with a height of 17,000 feet and a velocity of 200 miles per hour. As the tornado strikes, the sidecar containing the barrels is overturned and the polymers get released into the tornado. But contrary to what Kate was hoping, it fails to weaken the raging twister. As the tornado hits their location, Kate and her friends run for shelter. While Kate and her boyfriend Jeb manage to climb onto a structure, Kate's friends are sucked in by the storm. Just as Jeb shelters Kate and tells her it's going to be okay, Jeb too gets swept away in the storm, leaving Kate screaming and crying as the tornado passes over her. Kate and her friend Harvey remain the only survivors of this failed experiment. 5 years later, Kate's abandoned her PhD research in Oklahoma, given up storm chasing, and moved to New York to work at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, where her opinion on storm patterns matters more than anyone else's. Harvey pays a surprise visit to Kate and tells her that during his time in the military, he used to operate a sky scanning system with phased array radar, and now his company Stormpar has built portable versions of it, and that he needs Kate's help to test out these mobile tornado radars, which can provide 3D scans of the tornado structures. Kate refuses the offer initially, but when she sees the video of a town ravaged by a tornado, Kate agrees to go storm chasing for a week, just when Oklahoma is about to be hit by a once-in-a-generation tornado outbreak. In Oklahoma, Harvey introduces Kate to his team as the smartest person he knows with the best storm instincts. While Harvey's team, including his business partner Scott, try to decipher the tornado pattern with their gadgets, Kate walks into a field and reads the skies by releasing dandelion petals in the air. YouTube sensation Tyler Owens, who's known as the Storm Wrangler for his tornado-chasing exploits, also drives in with his quirky team and "if you feel it, chase it" slogan. Tyler and Kate get off on the wrong foot as Kate instantly sees him as a fame-hungry guy, and Tyler thinks she's just a city girl. Later, Glenn Powell's character Tyler dangerously overtakes the Stormpar vehicles, pushing them off the road, and then drives through a wind farm with broken windmill fans crashing at them. The Stormpar crew trusts Kate's instincts and heads west, just where the vortex is forming, as Harvey intends to place 3 scanners in time. Harvey's team positions 2 radars, but when it was Kate's turn, she has a panic attack seeing the EF-1 tornado and drives away. Tyler goes precariously near the storm core, along with English journalist who's reporting on American storm chasing. Tyler sets off fireworks into the storm's funnel, making a spectacle out of it. He wraps up his YouTube vlog by saying, "Remember kids, don't try this at home. We are professional tornado wranglers." The next day, Kate and Tyler's teams witness the formation of a tornado in the sky and its landfall, only for it to split into twin twisters. Chasing the twins, Tyler and Kate go in opposite directions. Tyler positions his truck by drilling supports into the ground, but the storm quickly passes over them. On the other side of the field, Kate encounters the devastating force of the storm while setting up the 3rd scanner, but the tornado destroys the device and almost topples a car. Tyler and Kate's teams arrive at the city Stillwater, which has been leveled by the tornado, to assist in the recovery efforts. Kate learns that all of Tyler's merchandise and YouTube profits go to tornado relief work. She also learns the truth about Marshall Riggs, the primary investor of Stormpar, who's exploiting the disaster by acquiring lands from locals after their homes are destroyed. Later that night, when Tyler invites Kate to a rodeo, an unexpected E4 scale tornado hits the city that sucks up cars, destroys structures, and results in heavy casualties. Kate confronts Harvey about profiting from people's tragedies. When he lashes out, saying that Harvey lost all his friends because of Kate's storm-chasing science project years ago. Kate quits the Stormpar team and drives to her mother's place in Sapulpa, and Tyler comes looking for her, where he learns how Kate and her friends pursued a research on disrupting tornado dynamics, but she gave that up following the accident. Tyler calls her the OG Wrangler for attempting to disrupt tornadoes with her science project, but she breaks down, saying she underestimated the scale of the tornado and got her friends killed. Tyler, who's also well-versed in meteorology, offers to help finish Kate's project, and together they chase a tornado and release the absorbent polymers in its funnel, hoping for it to dissipate. But this experiment too turns out to be a failure. Next day, Harvey apologizes to Kate and shares some crucial data with her, which helps Kate make adjustments to her experiment by adding silver iodide. Kate joins Tyler's team, and Tyler decides to shoot rockets of silver iodide into the storm clouds to make it rain, and then the absorbent polymers would dry out the raindrops from the tornado, thus choking and dissipating it. A deadly tornado develops near El Reno, with both Harvey and Tyler's teams chasing it through stormy rains and almost zero visibility. The cyclone strikes an oil refinery and catches fire, turning into a fiery whirlwind and causing a chain of explosions. The twister explodes into a mile-wide EF5 that shifts course and heads towards El Reno. Tyler and Kate rush towards El Reno to help the townspeople evacuate, and Harvey joins them too by abandoning Scott on the road and turning around. With the twister rushing towards El Reno, Kate and Tyler instruct everyone to take shelter in a school building and a theater. As the storm increases in intensity, a streetcar is derailed and Tyler gets stuck and is about to be crushed by a falling water tower. But Harvey arrives just in time, and the 3 run back to the shelter, only to realize that Kate has taken off in Tyler's truck, determined to tame the tornado down. Having learnt the controls of the car, Kate approaches the vortex, activates the docking drills and sets off the iodide rockets first, and then the absorbent polymers. Not sure whether the experiment will work this time or not, Kate then prepares herself for the worst as the truck gets tumbled over. Meanwhile, back at the town theater, the walls are ripped off and people are getting sucked in by the tumultuous winds. Tyler too holds on for dear life when suddenly the storm dissipates, as Kate's experiment turns out to be successful. In the final scenes, Harvey and Tyler see off Kate at the airport as she's returning to New York. She says Tyler's slogan as her parting words, "If you feel it, chase it," which inspires Tyler to dock his car at the airport and follow Kate into the airport. When the announcement plays out that flights have been delayed because of approaching storms, Kate and Tyler look at each other and smile, then rush off to chase the developing tornadoes. The credits montage shows that Tyler, Kate, and Harvey are running their own storm-chasing gigs now, and Ben's article on storm chasers is based on Kate instead of Tyler. Are the 2 movies connected? Both Twister movies are set in the same universe, where storm chasers are the central characters and the story unfurls around devastating tornadoes brewing over Oklahoma. Both films brilliantly alternate between slow story-building moments and thrilling storm-chasing sequences. The storylines are also similar, but with a completely fresh spin. But Lee Isaac Chung's Twisters doesn't have any direct connection to the 1996 movie in terms of continuity or characters. Initially, Helen Hunt was supposed to reprise her role as the storm chaser Joe, with a story centered on Joe and Bill's daughter, but that was scrapped in favor of a new chapter altogether. Twisters is in fact a standalone sequel, which focuses on a new tornado-related mission. In an interview, director Chung was asked if his movie has ties to the original one, and he said, "I see it as a new science experiment. It's the same world. We don't have the same characters, but it's a new experiment. There's a lot of nods to the original, but I hope I've made it its own thing as well." True to his words, Twisters does have plenty of references to the original blockbuster. Most prominently, the characters of Kate and Tyler mirror the chemistry of Joe and Bill Harding. And then, late actor Bill Paxton's son James makes a cameo as an angry guest at the Stillwater Motel, where Kate and Tyler encounter an EF4 scale tornado. In a slightly comedic scene, James's character Cody keeps complaining to the hotel staff about their broken services, not realizing the severity of the approaching tornado. It's an Easter egg for the fans of Dad and the original. "I did this one for Dad," said James Paxton, who lost his father in 2017. Other connections to the 1996 movie include Dorothy, the storm scanning device that was originally conceptualized by Bill and Joe. In Twisters, Dorothy 5 makes an appearance, as there were 4 Dorothys in the first movie. Bill and Joe's alma mater, Muskogee State University, is also the school that Kate and her friends attended in Twisters, as stickers of the school appear on the Dorothy 5 deployed by them. Then there's the movie theater connection. An F4 destroys a drive-in theater in the 1996 movie, and in Twisters, it's an F5 ripping apart a town cinema hall. Costume designer Eunice Giorelli also snuck in a few connections through Kate's wardrobe. In one sequence, Kate wears a white tee paired with khaki shirt and trousers, which replicates Joe's signature look from the 1996 movie. In one scene, Kate's also seen wearing a baseball tee, just like the little boy at the end of the OG movie. Other details that are nods to the original movie include Kate telling Harvey that she's just joined the storm chasing team for a week and that she's not back in the tornado business. In the 1996 movie, Bill keeps saying he's not back to storm chasing when he meets his friends again. In both cases, Kate and Bill end up encountering the most devastating of tornadoes. Also, Kate's mother in Twisters is reminiscent of Aunt Meg from 1996. Miss Carter offers barbecue to Kate's storm chasing crew, just like Aunt Meg whipped up steak and eggs for Joe's friends. Miss Carter also shares interesting stories about Kate, which is reminiscent of the crew talking about Bill's exploits around Aunt Meg's table. The character of Harvey's shrewd business partner Scott also somewhat reminds one of Jonas, who was Bill and Joe's rival storm chaser in Twister. Sunflowers is also a tiny but common connection between the two movies. The climax of the 1996 movie involves a large sunflower field, which Patrick Sullivan, then an art department newbie, planted months ahead of the film's shoot. Sullivan is now the production designer for Twisters, and he created a blooming sunflower field at Kate's Oklahoma home. "It was fun to get sunflowers into the film and use them to immerse all of us, filmmakers and audience, in the world of Twister again," he said. Marvelous verdict. The OG Twister has the most spectacular and the most terrifying tornado scenes in cinematic history, and the sequel Twisters matches up to it to a large extent. Lee Isaac Chung's Twisters may not be a traditional sequel to the 1996 movie, but it has enough Easter eggs to make returning fans nostalgic. Twisters is now in theaters. So, have you given this movie a try yet? Please tell us what you think in the comments section below. We'll come back with more movie explorations, but till then, please remember Tyler's words: you don't face your fears, you ride 'em. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.